Guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this video we are going to learn how to create this campaign flyer in Adobe Photoshop. So without wasting much time, let's get into the video. So the first thing we are going to do here is to create our canvas or our artboard, and to do that you head over to file, click on new, and enter our dimensions over here. So the width of our artboard is 1080 pixels and the height is 1350 pixels, and this is the Instagram portrait dimension, and I think I'm going to keep the resolution at 300. Okay, so all the other settings remain the same. So since we are done with our dimension, let's click on create to create our artboard. Okay, so our artboard is created. The next thing we are going to do is to write our text, our 2024 text in the background. So to do that, we select the type tool and enter 2024. Okay, so the text color is white, so I'm going to select my text by clicking Ctrl A and giving it a black color now. Okay, so we can now see our text, but we have to break it. The 20 has to be at the top and the 24 has to be at the down. So I'm going to click on enter, and that's our 2024. I'm going to expand it. I'm going to expand this, and you can see the space between the two numbers is too much, so we are going to reduce the space. To do that, we come to the properties panel over here, and you see this auto over here. You drag it backwards. Dragging it backwards will decrease the space between the text. You can also do so by clicking down the drop down menu and selecting an option over here. Okay, so we are going to increase the size further. Going to increase the size further, and the next thing I'm going to do is to click on this icon over here. So what it does is it links the width and the height together. So you see that when you are expanding, all the four edges expand together, but when you deselect it, each of the sides are independent on their own. So when you click here, it will expand to this side. When you click here, it will expand to this side. But when it is linked, it all expands together. It all expands together. So what I'm going to do is unlink it and open it or expand it a little bit to this side. Then I'll click on OK. To position this in the middle, you come here, you click on this three dots, click on selection and select canvas. So you can see after selecting the canvas, these options over here are now enabled. So you come here and you click on this, it will align perfectly in the center. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, good. So okay, we are done with our test for now. So the next thing we are going to do is to bring in our subject. So we go to our resources. So I'll be leaving the resources in the description so you can download them and design along. So I'm going to bring in my resources. I'm going to bring in my subject. So I forgot to link it back, so I'll click on the link option and link it back, and I'll expand my subject a little bit. Okay, so this is our subject, and the next thing we have to do is to remove the background of our subject. To do that, you will come to the layers panel, right click on the background layer and click on rasterize layer, and this will convert it into a smart object for an easy remover. You see, I could have just clicked on this remove background, but older versions of Photoshop don't have this option. So I'm using this method because most of the older versions can also use this method to remove the background. So after converting it into the smart object, you come to the properties panel, scroll down a bit, you come to quick actions, and you click on remove background. Okay, so now our background is removed. So you can see that our text is not that visible. So we are going to increase our text a little bit. Okay, so I think you can manage this. Okay, so now that our text is here, the next thing we are going to do is to give our subject a shadow. And to do that, we click on the image and duplicate it. And to duplicate it, you can come to the layers panel, right click, and click on duplicate layer over here. Click on OK to duplicate the layer. But the shortcut to do this when you are using a Windows machine is Command J or Control J and Command J when you are using a Mac OS or a MacBook. So once our subject has been duplicated, we will select the one below, then we click on FX at the bottom here and click on color overlay. Then we will select the black color. I think we select the black color. So we can see, if I turn this off, you can see that the subject below has become black. Okay, so that's what we are going to use. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, still selecting the subject below, you head over to filter, you click on it, you scroll down to blur, you come down to Gaussian blur, and you click on it. So you can see that we have gotten a shadow behind our subject. We've gotten the shadow behind our subject. So this is the before, this is the after. So you can see the difference. This is the before and this is the after. Okay. So the next thing we are going to do is to draw our rectangle. Okay. So we will select our type tool. We'll select our rectangular tool and draw a sizable rectangle. Draw a sizable rectangle and position it right in the middle. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to bring in our text. Right over here. So since the text is black, the text is white, let's change the rectangle to black. Let's change the rectangle to black for now. So you click on it. You can click on fill, or you can come here and double click and change the color to black. Change the color to black. Now we pick our type 2, come to the rectangle. Yeah. Let me lock this layer so that we can have the freedom to move around. Okay, so we select our type 2, click on this layer. So let me reduce the size also. Okay, so we are going to write his first name, which is Donald, and expand it. Donald, we expand it, and you can duplicate the Donald, Control J or Command J, and write Trump. You can see the Trump is a little smaller. I'm going to increase the rectangle a little bit. Okay, I think that's fine. And bring our Donald Trump up a little bit. So the next thing we are going to do is to write for President 2024. So for President 2024, we select our text tool. And decrease our font. For President 2024. Okay, so we are going to change the font. So to change the font, you come to Properties panel and you click on the font. And I think the font I use is this Apple Symbols Regular. So you click on it and we position it in the middle and bring it up a little bit. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to draw this rectangular shapes. So to draw that, we select our rectangular tool, then you draw a small rectangle. Yeah, so after drawing the small rectangle, you duplicate it by clicking on Control J and you hold Shift and drag. You hold Shift, you select it, you hold Shift and drag it. Okay, let me bring this up. Okay, so you hold Shift and drag it a bit. Then you duplicate it again. You hold Shift and you drag it again. So now we have 3 rectangles, but the shape, the color is the same, so you don't see it. So let's try and change the color of 2. So you choose a darker color. So I'll bring this back a bit. Okay, so I think this is fine. You can now see. So we will select all 3 rectangles and drag them to the middle by holding shift. So what the shift does is that it puts it in place so that it will all move on the same line without being distorted. Okay, so once we are done, then the next thing we are going to do is to give the rectangle a gradient, that red and black gradient. To do that, we come to FX, you scroll down and select gradient overlay. You select, so you can see that the gradient I used is already selected. So to get this gradient, you just come here, you click on the first pointer over here, you come to color and you select your color red. So this is the red I used. The color code is FF0000. Then you click on the second one and you choose your color code, which is black. So once you're done, then you just click on OK. The rest of the work is going to be done here in the angles. So you can see when you click on the angles, the colors change, or the position of the colors change. So we are going to have the red on this side and the black on the other side. So I think this is fine. You can see that that is exactly what I did here. So now we are going to change the colors. See, these are the American colors. It's red, white, and blue. But since the red was on this color, I decided to bring the blue first before the red. So we are going to select our first rectangle, double click, and choose a color. So I picked the blue from his shirt and gave it a lighter shade. And we are going to select the last one, double click, and give it a red color. Yeah, and we give the middle one a darker shade, so we are going to restore it originally to white. So we are basically done with this part of the design. Left with just one last thing. You select our subject and click on create new layer. Then we select our brush tool, come down and just let me move this up a bit. Select your brush tool and just click once, just to give the bottom a little bit of darkness or a little bit of a darker shade. Okay. So we are done with that. So the next thing we are going to do is to also give the 2024 behind the same gradient. If you remember, you can see that we locked the layer. So now we are going to open the layer and select it. You come to the FX, you scroll down to gradient overlay, and the gradient we've already selected will apply. So we are not going to touch anything. We are just going to click on OK, and we have our gradient. So the next thing we are going to do is to bring in our flag. I'm going to bring in our flag. You click on OK, you come to normal, you click on it, and you scroll. You scroll, and I think we use linear dodge, and click on OK. So you can see that it has entered into the white. So you just select it. You select your eraser tool. You click on it. You can see that it has not been, this smart object must be rasterized before processing. So you click on OK to rasterize it. Then you use it to clean the ones that entered into the red portion. Okay, so we are done with our background now. So the next thing we are going to do is to edit our subject, or to sharpen our subject a little bit. So we select our subject, we click on filter, you scroll down and select camera raw filter. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is to give it a little bit of exposure. You scroll down, we'll give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity. You scroll down a bit. And give it a little bit of sharpness. And you click on OK. So I think this is okay. The next thing is to bring in our logo, our Republican logo over here. Then I think I have the logo right here, so I'll just pick it from here and bring it. Okay, so the last thing we are going to do, or the next thing we are going to do, is to save this as a JPEG file. So you come to File, Export. You come to Export As. Then you can increase the quality to the highest. Then you click on Export, and you give it a name. I'm going to name it Donald, and save it to my desktop. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is to bring it back into Photoshop as one image and apply some editing to it to make it pop. So to do that, we go back to File, click on Open, come to our desktop and select our file, Donald. Okay, so we've brought it back. So it's different from the original one we are working on. You see that the original one has all these layers, but this has been saved as one image. So you click on Unlocked over here. You come back to the filter, camera raw filter, and what we are going to do is give it a little more contrast, a little more clarity and texture. And the next thing you are going to do is reduce the vignette to make the edges a little darker. You can see the difference. To make the edges a little darker, and scroll down and give it a little bit of sharpness. So you can see the difference. Okay. So this is how I created this flyer. Make sure you subscribe, you like, and leave a positive feedback.